Hello everybody, my name is Clive Collins.
And I'm David Reed.
And you're watching
From the Bench.
Everyone, welcome back to another episode from the Bench. I think this is episode 6, I believe. We've done quite a lot of episodes now.
Time.
A lot has happened since the last episode. Obviously Daniel Farke got sacked. Dean Smith is the man. Obviously there was controversy between Frank Lampard potentially being the manager, and we'll probably get onto opinions on whether we think Dean Smith's the right man and could Frank Lampard have done a different job. David, what do you think to the appointment, mate?
I think it's plan B. We don't know behind the scenes what was talked about with Lampard. We don't know what was said, and I don't think Dean Smith's a good manager. I think he has proven, but in Championship and the Premier League. But I know he has lots of flaws. Like, he's not the best you could have got. But knowing Norwich way at the moment, your transfer budget, the players you got, there's not many managers you can really attract that are Premier League level quality. There's not many you can name that want to come to Norwich in a relegation fight. But I think it'd be a good appointment. I think it'd bring a good stability to Norwich.
Yeah, I think what I like most about Dean Smith is obviously his defensive work, and he said this in his interview. And if you watch Norwich's media video over the weekend, the media was brilliant. Obviously, they showed him going around the stadium. It seemed like he was quite happy with a smile on his face. And then obviously they showed his first training session yesterday. Todd Cantwell, Billy Gilmour both featured. And Abu Kamara, one of Norwich's youngsters, who's been a bit of a goal machine for the under-21s this season. So, and they just look to be a little bit more of an intensity. Like when you watch the Daniel Farke training sessions, and they're constantly like playing little games and things. But when you look at like what they were doing in the Dean Smith session, it just looked a lot more organised, a lot more structured, and it was a bit more like tough and like, come on, let's get on with it. So I think when you watch Norwich against Southampton, I don't think there'll be much of a difference to the Daniel Farke Norwich, because obviously it's just he's only he's got 3 training sessions to do something with this squad.
New system, new style
exactly.
play.
So I think give it a week or two, and we'll really start to see what Norwich have to offer. Now, obviously, I think this is more of a blank canvas, and for me, Dean Smith, especially defensively, which is what he said in his interview, I think it's going to be something really good for the future for Norwich City. And I think if Norwich are going to stay up, it's going to be now.
Yeah, I agree, but you can see what he did with Jack Grealish. Like, he does promote young. Even though he goes for like the older kind of players, he still goes for academy players. And you can see like his calling players in the academy. He wants to build. Everyone wants for selection. Now we look at Daniel Farke. It was a certain way of playing, a certain bench. It rarely changed. Now as Dean Smith, everyone knows they've got to go 100% in training. And then they've got a chance. It's not like they go into training. No, they're just there to make all the numbers. They know cup games and stuff like that. They've got to be picked now. I think that's more of a positive energy now. And that I'm all for selection. It's not the same side. Like, it's not players going, I'm going to be picked this weekend. Why should I bother and train? Like, everyone knows I've got to play now or I'm out. And you saw what we did with Villa. Was like the players chopping and changing. He did, and always times other teams. He's a good manager. He can bring a good style of play. Playing 4-3-3 or 4-3-2-1. He has. I think he'll get attackers going like we did with Ollie Watkins, Danny Ings. He has a good way of playing, like smaller strikers. I think that's will benefit Norwich quite well, having smaller strikers. Not saying like Pukki's not Premier League level. They're more the bottom end of the Premier League level. I think these will get the best out of them.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think he's a manager that's going to get the most out. I think he's going to look at Mila Rashica. He's a player that Aston Villa actually wanted. He's a player that Dean Smith wanted. I think it was last season they offered about £24 million for him, and Werder Bremen said no because they wanted to keep them in the league. Unfortunately, that didn't really go well for Werder Bremen. Norwich managed to bring him in for, I think it was 9.7 million. So I think we got a good price for Mila Rashica there. And I think obviously players like him, Todd Cantwell is another player that was rumoured to be going to Villa. So they're obviously 2 players that Dean Smith has looked at previously, and I think they're probably 2 players that he's really going to look to probably be our little goal machines, if you like. And it was nice to see Abu Kamara in the first team training for the first time, so that's another interesting thing. So maybe has Dean Smith been looking at this Norwich job since day dot, since he left Villa? And I guess that's all we've really got to say on it. We don't really know too much more about Dean Smith. He's a little bit of a dark horse. Obviously, as I said before, this Norwich team is going to be a blank canvas, and it's going to be really interesting to see the different lineups that get put out. Like you said, he's not a manager that sticks to one lineup. Like, he's not a manager that Teemu Pukki can turn up to a training session, half-arse it and just be like, oh, it's fine, I'm going to be in the starting lineup. With Dean Smith, it's not going to be like that. I think another thing about Dean Smith as well, and I was speaking about it earlier, I think he's a manager that has a plan B in game. I think his in-game management will be so much better than Daniel Farke's.
And set pieces will be
yeah, we won't see substitutions in the 85th minute. We won't see Christos Jolis come on for 10 minutes and try and change the game. I think his in-game management is just going to be a lot better. And David, have you got any more to say on Dean Smith, or I guess we have to now wait until after he's played his first game? David, we're going to move on to Lincoln. Obviously, we're both wearing the Norwich and Lincoln shirts, so it'd be a bit unfair if we were just talking about Norwich City for the whole time. David, what do you want to talk about Michael Appleton?
Oh, where we start with Michael Appleton? It's just being saying in the press like the past, I think, month now. He went through. He was waiting for the transfer window. He brought all the players he wanted to. He said, "This is the squad we're going for." A few months later, we haven't got the players we have. And when he's loaning players out, like left, right, and centre, he's selling players for no reasons. He's not buying reinforcements. Like last season, we had, I think, 4 defenders we did.
Yeah.
And I think almost all of them got injured.
Yeah.
So what the wise thing we'll do is to buy someone in. But the player we brought in was born defenders we loaned in, and we've not restricted any areas. Like we brought strikers and he doesn't play. He plays 4-3-3. No matter what, we had Teddy Bishops played centre mid, left wing, right wing, striker, right back, and he's a sensitive defensive mid. We started to see him as Cohen Bramall left wing, he's like a left back. He just sticks play. If he has one system, he has no tactic styles. And when we look at the game of the weekend, we've got Scully coming back, which is a positive, but we still haven't got Tom Hopper back. He's still out injured. We've got Walsh still out injured. Jackson probably is going to come back after his head injury. We've got Griffiths who might play, who might not play. We don't know. Like it's so we know with Lincoln, you know what players you're going to play because you can look at the team and you know it's the same style every week. And when we look at the result, we played 16 games a season. Only 9 times a season we've scored 2 or more goals. And that, in one
yeah, but how many are you conceding?
A lot. That's the thing. I think we're conceding about over 20 at the moment. We are. Like,
yeah. So you have to find that, and that's what Dean Smith needs to do with Norwich City. It's finding that balance between.
Dean Smith, are we?
Oh no, definitely not. I think Dean Smith is 10 times the manager of Michael Appleton.
A million times.
But I think when you look at a manager and when they first join a new team, it's like obviously it's a case of, and Dean Smith said this in his interview. He was like, first thing we need to do, shore up the defence because the defending this season has not been good enough. It's as simple as that. It just hasn't been good enough. And yes, we haven't scored many goals either, but if you prevent goals from going in, you have chances of getting points straight away. If you keep a clean sheet, that's a point on the board. So I think for Dean Smith and perhaps for Michael Appleton at Lincoln as well, it's something that needs to be improved. He has been there 3 years. Is it time to pull the plug on Michael Appleton's time at Lincoln?
I tell you we can. I don't think I've got the finances to. I think he's guiding us to 12th place, which is, I think this is uncertainty for like Clive. Lincoln have never been in this situation in League One since like the 20th century. The last time we were like the 1980s, I think it was. The last time Clive wasn't even around then. And I think it's uncharted waters. We've never actually sacked a manager either, I don't think, in Clive tenure. I think that when we got Michael Appleton, it was a panic why it was, because we had Jamie McComb in charge, who was the defensive coach. And defensive coach by name, not by nature, because when we were playing, we're losing nearly game 4-0. I think we had like 9 options we were to go for. We got 11th, and that was Michael Appleton. And look what he's done to the club. The team he had, the first season he was there, it was the best League One team out there. And that's what I'm saying. When you look at the team like John Kidney up front, came back after scoring 15 goals in League Two. We had Harry Anderson, we had Payne, we had like Shackle, players like this, even Vickers. And he managed to take that team, and guys just, I think it was like, well, it took us from like 1st to 15th, you know, his first season.
Yeah, but I think the thing is with Lincoln at the minute, you can't, I guess of course at the minute you're in a little bit of a rough patch in League One. No one wants to be in League One, do they? And like Ipswich obviously, but when you look at Lincoln and you look at their recent success, and there has been recent success. Obviously, you got promoted.
That's on the Danny Cowley, not
you got promoted from League Two, and you done really well, and very, very close to coming up to the Championship. And had you have come to the Championship, I think it could have been even worse. I think it's almost better for you to be where you are now in League One, where you are still winning games. The players aren't deflated. If you are worlds away from the Championship, and it is as simple as that. Your squad just I don't want to say it, but your squad just simply isn't good enough. You come up against a full strength Norwich team in the Championship. Exactly.
I want the opportunity. When you League One, there's a salary cap on the players. Like we can't produce anything in the academy club. We can have like a certain amount of academy players come out in League One, And that's the problem. We've got Sam at the moment, we've got Draper, we've got players like... We're not making enough quantity of academy players at the moment. I want to get a champion. I want to see Lincoln.
Yeah.
The best we can do.
You want to see them challenge the best teams you can challenge.
I don't want... The only time for us to be in the championship was when I wasn't even alive. It was like I think it's the 80s, the 70s, last time it was Division 2 though.
TV was black and white.
Exactly. I don't want to remember Lincoln. I want to look at YouTube. I want to see Lincoln actually...
You want to see Lincoln battle teams like Swansea and teams like that,
I want to go to the game, not see Tranmere Rovers away. What would you rather watch, Tranmere or Swansea?
I guess I can say Norwich are in a sort of, not a similar situation, but we're in a situation, because you're not the kings of League One, but Norwich are in a situation where obviously when we go up to the Championship, we know it's going to be a bumpy ride, and it's not going to be all lovey-dovey, and we're not going to go to Manchester United and beat them 3-1 or whatever, like we can do in the Championship. But I get what you mean when you want to see your team in that division, but is it just the fact that Lincoln, especially financially, are worlds away from and Norwich are worlds away from the Premier League as well? I mean, we spent £50 million, and that was like our record transfer window, and you get clubs spending this on backup goalkeepers almost. Exactly. There you go. So you get teams that are spending £70 million on backup goalkeepers like Chelsea, and obviously, is that down to ownership? Perhaps, but like Lincoln need to find a way to be sustainable, and that I think is what Stuart Webber has done with Norwich City and Delia Smith. I think Norwich at the moment, yes, it's not ideal. Yes, we want to stay in the Premier League, but I think for now, with Delia Smith, she's worth 30 million. If Frank Lampard was appointed, he would have been worth more than our owner of our football club.
I think worth more than our club.
Probably, but Delia Smith's worth £30 million, and they said something like, I think it was Frank Lampard's worth £66 million. He's got a net worth of £66 million. That's more than our club. If Frank wanted to, he could probably buy our club outright. But like, I think it's just a situation where Norwich are in a probably quite privileged position because we're not in debt. Alex Neil left us. He spent, £30 million in that January transfer window. But Mbakani, Stephen Naismith and a hatful of other players who've done absolutely nothing to help us other than that back heel against Liverpool, which was rather naughty. But I just think he left us in such a bad state. You brought Stuart Webber in, Daniel Farker in. They basically saved the football club. This close to administration Norwich City were at one stage, and now look at us. We've got a new training ground, we've got some of the best facilities. We've got this brand new technology thing, which is really good. Obviously, we're the only one in the country that actually has it. We're the first football club in England to have this piece of technology. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like this dome thing at the training ground. And apparently, so far, Billy Gilmore is the best player to use it. So he's got the highest score at the ground so far. But I think when you look at how sustainable Norwich are, and I think Norwich are happy at the minute to be a top 25 club in English football, and I think that's acceptable. When you look at the piles of cash that is the Premier League, and Norwich don't have piles of cash, and I think that's the sort of thing Lincoln need to do. You need to find the balance of not dropping down too low. You want to stay in League One for a while, maybe a couple of seasons in League One. So you're sitting in, where are you sitting at the minute?
12th.
You're sitting 12th, right? So you're mid-table League One side, okay? You're roughly around the area, Ipswich is around that area as well, aren't they, roughly?
Yeah.
So when you look at Ipswich, right, Ipswich, I hate Ipswich, obviously I hate Ipswich, but like, when you look at them, they're obviously a better club than Lincoln. So if you're competing with teams like that, then surely your season isn't as bad as it looks.
Yeah, because we've got quite a few quality players. When we look at the tactics, we nearly got some Bowser and Pizza with a full strength Lincoln team, and it's one of that. When we played last year, we played Liverpool a season ago.
Yeah. It
was the first time we really saw what have no tactics. 11 players on the pitch it is. And if you put 11 guys for professional forwards on a pitch, they're going to get some good result, but they're not always. We've got a lot of young kids in the team we have. And they need a manager who knows what they're doing. They don't need a manager who is clueless. They want when they go on loan, they want a gaffer who knows what they're doing. They want to have training sessions that are laid out well. They want to play a good style of football. When we play Lincoln, we're playing a defensive midfield, we're playing too deep, we are. All the players we're loaning are sat on the bench. And we're loaning in 10 at the end of the game, and it's not...
Is this down to the EFL, though?
It's not
when clubs like you, clubs like Derby, look at Derby now, right, okay, they've just got another, 18-point deduction now?
-3 on there.
Exactly, they're a -3, they've gained 18 points this season. So right now they could probably be sitting about 15th in the Championship, but obviously they're rock bottom. And it's the same what happened to Sheffield Wednesday. Do you think there needs to be an improvement on this, whatever it's, this filter system from the Premier, from the big clubs, to just send a little bit of money down to the lower leagues, just to help teams along? Do you know what I mean? Like, these big clubs, they have so much money, and I think this filter system at the minute is clear to see that it really isn't working.
I think the problem is people, although the lower teams are getting slapped with point deductions, which is not helping anyone. They should be, instead of like slapping 10 point deductions on dollar, they should be helping and get our administration. You keep slapping points into League One, and then they won't be able to pay players again. That's down. They're going to lose a lot.
Fans will stop coming.
Exactly. The revenue is going, and that's why if we look at Bury, they just didn't care. Like, how can you lose a football club? How can the EFL?
It literally just disappeared like that, didn't it?
Yeah. In the Premier, can you imagine like West Ham administration? It's not going to happen. There's so regulation in the Premier League. When it comes to the EFL, it's so relaxed, and I don't understand why. Because it's got more clubs than the Premier League does.
Yeah.
And the EFL owner, like, he's not standing up. It should be like, we should be getting better technology, better pitches, better rules.
Would you put VAR in the Championship?
Yeah, I think it needs. Players need to adjust to it because it can't get like. When we look at Lincoln, we went to Wembley. We did.
Yeah.
There's no VAR and there's no gun technology allowed there. But I can't understand why. We're giving our bottom half Championship referee we were, and for a biggest game. But for the pre-season, we get a Premier League referee a game against. I think against Oldham.
Yeah.
How there's no control. Again, when we play a final, it should be a Premier League referee with VAR and goal line technology. You can't say it's a small stadium because Wembley's not a small stadium. Lincoln are a small team. They're an EFL club. We're going to the Championship, and there should be this. There's no regulations.
Yeah. Well, I think obviously that's probably a conversation for another episode, and I'm sure we'll have some sort of Barney about that shortly.
Cool.
I think that's really all we've got to say, to be fair. I think I'm happy with the appointment of Dean Smith. Obviously, you're not happy with Michael Appleton.
No,
maybe give it a few weeks and he'll be gone, and I'm hoping I'll be able to speak on this camera again in a few weeks, and Norwich City are up and out of the relegation zone and flying for a European tour.
I hope we got rid of Michael Appleton somewhere better.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. But anyway, guys, we want to thank you all very much for watching, and you've been watching